Okay, let's just get right into it. You know that exact cliché moment in a movie where the protagonist is standing at a crossroads? They've got a map in one hand, a one-way ticket in the other, and the soundtrack is just swelling with all this promise? Yeah, well, that's exactly the energy I, and probably a lot of you, walked into our first international studies lecture with. We were absolutely ready to save the world, one perfectly formatted policy paper at a time.
But boom, expectation meets reality. We always picture ourselves in this incredibly sharp suit at the UN, brokering world peace. But the reality? It is a deeply messy, completely chaotic framework of the world. Now look, don't get me wrong here. This area of study is an absolutely invaluable framework for understanding the chaos of our modern era. But consider this explainer your real orientation briefing. This is the confessional truth they conveniently leave out of those glossy university brochures. Today, we're unpacking 5 brutal truths about studying international relations that are going to totally shatter your illusions, but ultimately, they're going to make you vastly better at navigating this incredible field.
So, let's hit truth number 1. It's not about being right.
When a lot of us start out, we get obsessively attached to our own opinions. We strut into a seminar on, let's say, the Israeli-Palestinian conflict or U.S. foreign policy in Latin America, completely armed with these meticulously crafted arguments. Our source actually puts this perfectly. I was a gladiator in a toga, ready for intellectual combat. The whole goal was just to win, right? To completely annihilate the opposing viewpoint with a barrage of facts and figures. But you very quickly realize that being perfectly right is a luxury you literally cannot afford in the real world. Every global issue is essentially a massive, complex Rubik's Cube. You twist one side to solve a quick economic problem, and you completely scramble the other 5 sides that deal with history, culture, psychology, and competing national interests.
The real superpower here is embracing what we call intellectual humility. The goal isn't to flawlessly win the argument, it's simply to be less wrong. It's about being the most genuinely curious listener in the room. The absolute best scholars and practitioners out there, they can articulate the other side's argument even better than the people who actually hold it. They build bridges of understanding instead of just trying to shout the loudest. So I challenge you to practice this. Write your next essay from the perspective you find the most abhorrent. Or go read a book by an author you fundamentally entirely disagree with. Do it just to learn the machinery of their logic. I promise you it will make you so much sharper.
Moving right along to truth number 2. Theory is a map, not the territory.
Look, we all love those elegant theories, don't we? Realism, liberalism, constructivism. We devour them, thinking, hey, if I can just master these analytical frameworks, I'll finally unlock all the secrets of the international system. But the map only promises these beautiful, clean models. Like, according to the theory of comparative advantage, a trade negotiation between 2 countries should be a totally straightforward, mutually beneficial deal. But the territory, the actual boots-on-the-ground reality, is vastly different. Take this fantastic anecdote from our source. They had an internship where a seemingly rational trade deal was completely derailed. And why? Because a lead negotiator from the other country was harboring a personal grudge from a dispute that happened 20 years ago. There was a domestic election looming, and powerful local industry lobbies had the government sear. The beautiful theory was completely hijacked by human messiness.
Because the real world is an earthquake, and it is happening in real time. Theory gives you this beautiful, elegant map of a city. It shows you the highways and the major streets, but it completely misses the massive potholes, the constantly changing one-way streets, and the broken traffic lights. Theory is just a lens to help you ask better questions. It's not reality itself. As you go through your studies, actively seek out the messy case studies. Don't just memorize the theory. Learn exactly how, where, and why it totally breaks down in practice.
Which leads us to truth number 3. You don't know your own backyard.
There is this massive, hilarious irony in this field. Come on, we all have that one friend who has traveled to 17 countries and they can passionately, endlessly analyze Southeast Asian security architecture or France's immigration policy, but they are completely ignorant of their own local neighborhood zoning laws. So, honestly answer this right now. Can you name the mayor of your own city? Do you know the major economic driver of your home state? Being an expert on the world means absolutely nothing if you are a total novice in your own community. We get so caught up in the allure of exotic capitals and everything international that we literally neglect what is sitting right in front of us. The fundamental truth is that foreign policy starts at home. Global supply chains, they might start with a mineral mined halfway across the globe, but they are entirely driven by consumer demand in your own city. Climate migration is inextricably linked to local crop yields. If you don't understand how power, poverty, and privilege actually operate in your own community, there is no way you can truly grasp them on a global scale.
Turn your gaze inward. Go read your local paper, attend some boring town halls, and really understand local politics. That is how you ground your lofty ideals and become a genuinely effective global citizen.
All right, truth number 4. Soft skills are your only superpower.
In school, it is so ridiculously easy to get obsessed with the hard stuff, econometrics, game theory, writing these perfectly cited, beautiful policy briefs. We think that's where all our value comes from. But let me tell you a secret. People who can just crunch data, they are a dime a dozen. The human element is what actually drives international relations, and that means mastering 3 incredibly hard skills. First, empathic listening. The ability to literally just shut your mouth and truly hear the subtext and the history of someone from a completely different background. Second, emotional intelligence, reading the unspoken dynamics and the quiet power struggles in a room. And third, bridge building, finding common ground when it seems absolutely impossible. Our source recounts watching a senior diplomat facing down a deeply hostile delegation. All those statistical models, totally useless in that room. Instead, the diplomat just asked questions, acknowledged their grievances, and found one tiny, seemingly insignificant point of mutual agreement. And then he built on it, brick by brick. He wasn't trying to win an argument, he was forging a brand new path using pure, unadulterated human skill.
And now we reach our final truth. Let's slow down for a second, because this one is heavy. It will break your heart. But here's the thing, that heartbreak is actually a good thing. Studying this field is essentially an act of profound empathy. You're steeping yourself in the interconnected stories of global suffering, the deep, lasting scars of colonialism, the brutal reality of war, and the quiet desperation of poverty. And the more you learn, the more you realize the sheer staggering scale of these problems. It honestly brings on a very real existential grief. But here's the hardest lesson you are going to have to accept. You are not here to save the world. You know that initial cinematic vision we talked about at the very beginning of this explainer? We have to let that go. Saving the entire world is a massive, crushing burden that you were never, ever meant to carry.
Instead, your job is actually much simpler. And frankly, it's a lot harder. Your job is to make one part of the world for one person just a little less broken. That heartbreak you're feeling, if you let it, it burns away your naivete. It burns away your ego and your need for some grand, glorious victory. And what it leaves you with is something far more valuable, a quiet, stubborn, absolutely unshakable resolve. It becomes the literal fire in your belly that gets you out of bed to do the work on the days when everything just feels totally hopeless.
So acknowledge the grief. It's a completely normal, absolutely necessary part of this journey. Talk to people about it. Go find your tribe of fellow students and professionals who are feeling that exact same weight. And then let that profound care for our world, which is born entirely out of that sadness, let it become your ultimate superpower. Let it refine you into a relentless force for the actual, tangible good you can realistically create in the world. Which brings us to our final question for you to ponder today. Really think about this. How will you use your heartbreak to make just one part of the world a little less broken? This path of studying international relations is challenging, it is deeply frustrating, but it is, without a doubt, the most profoundly meaningful path you could possibly choose. You are embarking on a lifelong journey, and your map is still being drawn. So, welcome to the adventure. Keep your eyes wide open, keep your heart prepared, and most importantly, keep your mind completely ready to be changed.